Right. Okay. We are live and we are good to go. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the second live workout for ROW31. It's a bit exciting doing it this year on Zoom rather than last year where we just did it live on Facebook, because now I can see, I say all of your faces, some lovely images of people who are here, as well as the live screen. So I hope you're all well. We are progressing on from what we did last week. With the aim in mind, obviously, always of our benchmark at the end of the month. So today's session is going to be 2 by 10 minutes steady state. We will have our technical focus like we did last week, but it's a different one. And we will have a slight challenge because there's 2 blocks. Obviously, everyone loves a bit of a negative split and a bit of a challenge at the end. We will start with a warm-up. We are doing yet another different style of warm-up. For those of you who are on water rowers, you will probably be familiar with this either as part of a warm-up or as a drill. But we are going to practice. Today's session is all about the dry phase. So we did the recovery last week. We will revisit it, but today it's all about the dry phase and trying to get a little bit more power. Make sure you, once you've set yourself up well, you can pick the machine, the resistance up and work against it. So we are going to start our warm-up at the front. So if everyone would like to set themselves up, take hold of their handles. You might want to start at the back to get yourself in the right position. Think about the sequence that you take yourself up to in the start. Arms away, bodies over, up to the front, and then just stay here. And all I want from you is a tiny squeeze on the legs. It's just a tiny little movement. You'll note that there is no movement in any bit of my back. My arms are staying straight. It's just a squeeze on the legs. It's almost like you're going from any kind of heel lift you've got, trying to get your heels down. That's the first movement. And that is always the bit that picks up the, I hate to say weight because we don't want to talk about it in a bad way, but picks up the resistance and works against it. It's just that tiny little movement. It shouldn't be particularly comfortable, so we won't stay here for very much longer. But you just want to get that feel for picking the resistance up. I'd now like you to extend the legs a bit further, but still don't straighten them. Slightly longer stroke, but still keeping the knees bent. So your body is still rocked forward. Shoulders are still in front of hips. This is quite a lot on your core now, or rather I'm saying that because my core's kicked in. But it's a really good, strong position. And it shows you that once you've picked up the resistance, you're really able to maximize your leg drive. That's what we want. So far, so good. Keeping engagement with the arms, keeping engagement between the shoulder blades. We are now going to go to straightening our legs, which means our back will have to open, because you cannot have straight legs without forcing yourself back forward again. So just let it naturally open, but no arms just yet. When you move back up the slide, remember, set the body, then slide. And now you should start to hear the weight of the machine a little bit more, picking up as you can start to use more of your leg drive. We're still making sure our shoulders are in front of our hips for the majority of the movement, because they move here, they stay, and then they open at the finish. Keeping that engagement with shoulders, keep them relaxed and don't tense them. And then when we're ready, let's bring the arms in at the end. So at no point do we now do anything different to what we've just done. All you do is squeeze your shoulder blades back, because when you squeeze them back, your elbows will naturally follow through. So drive and squeeze. And now we want a nice light pressure, rate 20-ish. Thinking about that squeeze on the legs. Okay, as it's the warm up, let's take it up a little bit. So from whatever rate you're at, take it up 2 pips. So from 20 to 22, let's squeeze on the legs now. Just moving a little bit quicker, but with a bit more power rather than energy per se being used. Still thinking about that nice strong drive position we just talked about. Taking it up to 24 or 2 more pips. Let's go. Squeeze the legs. Just get a little bit of fire in them in the morning. And then take it back down to 20. Keep the squeeze and relax. I don't mean relax, stop. I mean like relax and recover. Must think of a different word to use. One more stroke and relax there for a second. Okay, that's our warm up done. But also hopefully that's ingrained a little bit about what we're doing at that front end, at the catch, the start position of the drive. Just think about keeping rocked forward. For those who wish to, you may set yourself up. We're going to do an interval technically, although it's a long steady state one. If you're not setting yourself up, don't worry, I've got the time. It's a timed interval of 10 minutes, twice over. With 90 seconds rest, that would help, wouldn't it? Now, it might not seem like a lot, but it is enough. All we need to do is mobilize, grab a quick drink if we want it, and we'll go straight back in. We are rate 18 to 20 again, based on what you found comfortable last week. If you struggled, keep working at it because it's good for you. Let's hit the ticks if you've got the ticks. Get ourselves set back up.
How long was the rest? Sorry, Claire.
90 seconds.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so we'll just give a few seconds to get set up. And then we're going to settle into a nice steady rhythm. Oh, no, I'm going to tell you the challenge in the break, because that'll just entertain the 90 seconds a little bit. I say entertain like I'm an entertainer. I'm here to deliver a class. Let's pick up our handles when we are good and ready. Just checking there's a few last minute people who are quite close to their screens because I feel like they're still ticking their numbers. Okay, strong and steady. Set, go. 10 minutes. You want to think about finding the settle in the rate first. So we're doing a rate 18 or 20. It's your choice what you want to challenge yourself on today. And then once we found that rate, we just want to apply a little bit of pressure on the legs so that we know that we're getting a workout from it. Remembering my joyous little chat about cars last week, for those who are here, this is about building your engine. So we shouldn't be going crazy powerful, straining every muscle, every single stroke, because we're going to be here a while. It's not good technique. And actually you want your heart rate to sit a little bit lower. This is meant to be a nice, easy zone. One that you could chat through if anyone else wasn't on mute. So we're just sitting tall, remembering that drive position at the catch at the start of the drive. We want to think about getting our heels down first. That's the first bit that instigates the movement. When you get your heels down, assuming they're lifted, that is, you take your knees a little bit, your knees open up a little bit. And that is actually a more efficient position to squeeze and utilize the leg muscles from than that full compression at the front. So you need to give yourselves a little bit of distance to allow your leg muscles to kick in, at which point you then let them. So then squeeze away. Think about opening the body towards the end of the drive. And then don't think about pulling through. Think about squeezing the shoulder blades back, and your elbows will naturally bend. Handle will come into chest tight. There we go. We found our rhythm now. Just keeping it nice and smooth. Allowing yourself the time to set yourself up well, and then execute each stroke well. Excellent. I talked about at the start, engagement with your arms and your shoulders, and that's so we don't drop the handle. If I let my arms go, they'll follow my feet down. If I keep engagement, they'll go in a nice straight line. You can see that with the chain or the strap on the machine. Given that we're not on the water, we don't need to get an oar out of the water, so there's no need for any vertical movement. Chain goes in, chain goes out. Good stuff. Remembering we do want a little squeeze on this. Think about as we drive through, once those heels are down, engaging your glutes, pushing away from the foot plate. So with the heels down, you've got the whole foot in contact with the foot plate, and then just squeeze. Good stuff. Excellent. Finding that nice rhythm. Drive and recovery. Drive and relax. I think there was some talk on the Facebook group about breathing. I do find it quite hard to dictate, because I don't think there's a right and a wrong. And fundamentally, the more tired you are, the more likely you'll just breathe anyway. But I would recommend, once your heels are down, once you've picked up the resistance, as we would in most exercises generally, you exhale on the exertion. So exhale through to the finish. There. The other reason why it's a good thing to think about in that point in particular is because exhaling will probably engage your core a little bit more, which means you've got a nice strong body rock and finish position, because you're exhaling and engaging at the same time. And then I would say, actually, having conversations through this definitely makes you think less about your breathing, because I'm talking so much. But I think I'm like that generally. I just like to talk. So about 2/3 of the way through this first piece. Should be feeling a little bit warmer, like we're working. And if we don't, let's just add a little extra squeeze through. Nothing crazy, don't speed up. We've got a really nice rhythm. But let's just make sure those legs are working for us. Good stuff. Sitting tall and just hinging over in the back. So we keep our back nice and strong and straight. No curving in the spine. Well done, everyone. From what I can see, it's looking good, it's looking controlled. And that's the aim. We're in full control so that when we have our benchmark at the end of the month and we know what we want to do, we can make it happen. I believe in you. I believe in us. So just remember that I'm doing it with you. Sitting tall, drawing through. As we're coming into our final minute, I don't want you to do anything different. There's always a tendency to want a proper sprint finish. But trust me, on this rep, you won't want it. Plus, this isn't a sprint. What you can think about is making sure you're squeezing through the drive. So if you've got a little bit extra in the legs, by all means use it, but not so much that you can't then get back on in 90 seconds to do it all over again. And that little squeeze should just mean a slight increase in the noise from your fan or your drum, so you know you're putting the work down. Keep strong through the final strokes. And relax it there. You have 90 seconds to do whatever you wish, but don't go far. Water, little stand up maybe, because we're in this 90-degree position. It's quite a lot on the lower back. The longer you spend on the machine, the more there is that pressure on the lower back. So sometimes it's quite nice to just open the hips out. She says as she displays our screen. Hi, I'm still here. Just open the hips out, loosen up that lower back area a little bit before we go back in. Hello.
Claire, can you tell everyone to mute themselves other than you?
Yes, yep, I was just coming to double check. Will do, thank you. I don't know why I'm looking at my watch. My time's on my screen. We've got 45 seconds left. And I was going to tell you the challenge. If you have an idea of how far you went or what your average split was, or your calories or your wattage, whatever you're working on, obviously, second set, we've got to go a bit further, a bit faster, a bit harder. Not faster, we want to keep the rate the same. And that means we're just going to put a squeeze on from the word go. I've got 15 seconds on my clock, just strap yourselves back in. So really thinking about that engagement position, we get the heels down, our knees open, and then we're in a really strong position to push. It's all about glutes and quads. And should we go? Sorry, 3, 2, 1, off we go. There's nothing like a last minute start. First point of call, find the rhythm again. Same rate as you did in the last set. We can't cheat and go further because we're doing rate 20 this time when we did rate 18 last time. We want to sit on the same rhythm, but it should be easy to find this time because you just did it. That's why 90 seconds is quite an easy break. It's long enough to get your breath back a bit, have a quick drink, but not long enough to forget what we just did. We're finding that rhythm, squeeze and recover. And we remember we set ourselves up, so that was last week's conversation. The sequencing on the recovery, arms, body, slide. I'm not very good with the arms bit of it, but we try. Set yourself up well for the stroke so that you can maximize that squeeze at the end, or squeeze in the other direction. Keeping engagement with the arms, keep hold of that handle, and sit strong in your upper back. There is no point at which we collapse. We sit strong, squeeze the shoulder blades back. And we just want to hear a slightly bigger squeeze, slightly louder noise from our machine. Good stuff. We're on rhythm. And we're aiming for that negative split. It was mentioned on the Facebook group, who doesn't love a negative split? And for those that aren't entirely sure what I'm waffling about this time, that just means each subsequent rep you do with an interval is a little bit faster, a little bit harder, a little bit further than the previous. You're just working a bit harder each time, which is a good challenge considering you get a little bit more tired each time. But it is a thing of beauty when done nicely. Just an extra 0.5 off a split each way, each rep. I think we can do a little bit more than 0.5 on this though. It being a 10-minute set, nice and easy rhythm, allowing us the time to set up and squeeze the drive away. Good stuff. If you feel when you go to push your legs down, like there's a little bit of slack in the chain and the handle, and it takes a couple of inches to pick it up, the resistance that is, I'm afraid to say it's not the machine's fault. There's not something wrong with the chain. It's not slack or loose. What you want to think about is the handle never stopping. It doesn't stop moving. It just changes direction. So what it means is you'll need to think about squeezing the legs or pushing away in the foot plate a little bit earlier than you currently are, because the slack happens when you stop here for a second. You lose it and you have to find it again. So think about setting ourselves up, straight push away. Set up, straight push. Good. Halfway down already. How's our distance looking? How's our split looking? Or our wattage? Hopefully, we're already ahead of the game. Making sure we give ourselves that control on the recovery. If we're working a bit harder on the drive, change that ratio slightly to maintain your stroke rate. Looking good. Keep that control. 18 to 20 strokes a minute. We want to keep the handle moving, so never quite stopping it. And thinking about squeezing that foot plate away. We've got a strong setup. And then our ankles start the movement. Give the knees space. Once the knees are down, the hip opens, the back rocks back, and we squeeze through with the shoulder blades to finish strong. Last 3 minutes, we're sitting tall, working sensibly hard, not crazy hard. Getting ourselves used to that 20-minute time. Might need to do it a couple more times before we finish. I'm not giving the game away, by the way. No state secrets yet. Focusing in for the final little bit. Nice and smooth in both directions. It's a squeeze on the foot plate rather than a stamp. Squeeze to press it away. If you see you're behind on your distance or your split or whatever in our negative split aim, now's the time to pick it up. We haven't got long left. Control the rate. Find the extra squeeze in the legs. Nice. Coming into that final minute again. Still don't do anything different. By now, I'm assuming you're rowing perfectly, obviously. So we just got to keep doing this. As we come into the final 30 seconds, whether you're ahead or behind, we need to do it anyway. Squeeze the legs, drive away. Slow recovery, keep the rate down, but give me a final 9 or 10 strokes of power. That was power and pressure put together. Sitting tall, sitting strong. I can't speak today. Squeeze. Last few strokes. And we're done. Well, that was fun. For those who've got their machine set, you might want to reset it now, so it saves those scores. And then when I can speak, we are going to see, this is the sign that I put the power down in the last, like, maybe 5 strokes. We're going to go into our nice little gentle cool down, maybe 2 minutes of rowing really gently, perfecting our technique. We'll stretch it out and you're good to go. Let's keep hold of the handle and just gently move through the cool down. Off we go. Now you've got the opportunity to control the recovery and keep the drive nice and slow as well. No need for pressure, but just moving through sensibly. As I was saying to someone the other day, just because we're going light, it's not an excuse for bad technique or bad form. It's actually the perfect excuse to continue to practice it. Also a nice chance to just get the heart rate to drop. If you work too hard at this point, the heart rate won't, and it just takes longer to cool down afterwards. Steady breathing, relaxed movements. Making sure that every muscle that you used at the start, that you've used throughout this workout, is working again so that we can loosen it off before we stretch it out. One more stroke. And the handles can go down. The feet can come out. And we can stretch. Great work, folks. I'm going to go through just the basic ones that I did last week, I think. Obviously, feel free to do any more that you want. If you want to continue rowing because you want to do another 10 minutes, whatever, it's entirely up to you. I'm going to start with quads, I think, which means disappearing off screen, standing up, 1 foot up behind, and just stretching down the front of the leg. Hold on to something if you need to, or there's something in reach. If not, go find it and come back. And then we will swap legs. I'm gonna go behind the machine. Can you see my head if I do that? No, you still can't. Oh well, I'll stay in front then. Haven't quite got this home workout set up perfected yet. God knows what we'd do if we were going on a mat, but don't worry, I said we weren't going to go on a mat. I promised we weren't. Excellent. We'll go into hamstrings. You can either stay standing, 1 foot out in front and hinge forward so you feel the stretch down the back of the leg, or I'm doing this so that I can see you. You can just go onto your knees and do it the same way, or you can sit and do it however you like. Excellent, and swap sides. And whilst I know that we now don't meet again until this time next week, and obviously I completely changed the focus of technique today from last week, I'm assuming that you guys are all doing your homework in between and all the other workouts on the machine that you're doing, and just embedding and remembering everything so that next week I can chuck something else at you and you'll just absorb it like a sponge. Right, final one is glutes. I saw someone do this last week and it was a great idea. Let's just sit down on the machine, make sure it doesn't slide anywhere. One ankle on the opposite knee and just open it out that way. You can obviously do it standing or lying on your back, whatever feels comfortable, but you just want to open out the hip of this front bent leg and push down on the knee a bit and sit up nice and tall or rock forward into it and you should feel it a bit more. We'll swap sides. Hope I don't slide anywhere. Excellent. And then finally, let's just do a few cat-cows on our hands and knees, just to, I can disappear again, mobilize through the spine. Inhale as you drop your back down. Exhale as you push it away from the floor. And then just cycle through that a couple of times in your own speed, nice and carefully. Just mobilizing the back out. And that is the session. Great work, folks. Thanks for joining me again. It's always nice to know I'm not alone in the mornings. Like I said before, don't forget, if you want to keep stretching, you can. Jump on the Facebook group, check out your emails for tomorrow. See you next week, all of the above. Well done for making it this far.
Thanks, Claire.
Thanks, Claire. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Take care. Have a great day.
Cheers. Bye.
Brilliant. Thanks ever so much. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Rich, I hope we're still